uh, Oscar De La Hoya. I would watch, pretty much Shane Mosley, the big fighters of that era, before Floyd and Manny took the world by storm. But once that fight started brewing, and I saw that this was going to be probably the biggest fight in boxing history, and I ended up being right. Ended up becoming the biggest fight in boxing history, monetarily at least. That's what really made me get into the sport more. I started doing a little bit more research. I started seeing like, okay, who is this Mayweather guy? I knew who he was, but I'm saying like, who has he fought in his past? I went back into his history and saw all his old fights. Same thing with Pacquiao. Saw all his old fights, and this fight is really, really what made me into a hardcore. So it has a special meaning into my heart. Unfortunately, we did not get this fight when the fans wanted this fight, when it needed to happen. And the fight needed to happen back in 2010. A lot of people don't know the fight was actually agreed upon, not signed, agreed upon to happen in March of 2010. And then they were negotiating. They went through everything. It was going to be a 50-50 split. It was going to be on HBO. There was no problems. And last minute, Floyd Mayweather came in with this new idea of random blood in urine testing. This suggestion have never been made before in boxing. So, so when Manny Pacquiao turned it down, that divided the boxing fan base. Some people felt like Mayweather's asking for this whole new random thing that nobody's ever asked for in boxing history, random blood and urine testing. This has never been part of negotiations. Now he's trying to throw a monkey wrench for the fight not to happen. And some people fell on the Floyd Mayweather side, like, hey, listen, this is something new, but it's the biggest fight in boxing. Let's show the world that both boxers are clean. Let's show the world that you don't have nothing to hide. If if like me, you could drug test me for steroids right now, and it's gonna come out negative because I'm 110% sure I do not do steroids. So I believe Floyd's mentality was like, listen, I'm willing to do it. Why not you? And if you're not willing to, it's because it's something suspicious. And we'll get into the lawsuits and all that a little bit later. But that's pretty much why the fight didn't happen. The fight was agreed to for March of 2010. I remember even seeing Floyd Mayweather go on the Joe Buck show on HBO and talk about it and saying how he was going to be victorious and almost somewhat promoting the fight, but nothing had been signed, sealed, and delivered. And the negotiations fell apart because of due to this drug testing recommendation from Floyd Mayweather. After that, Floyd Mayweather went on record accusing Manny Pacquiao of using performance-enhancing drugs. Manny Pacquiao ended up suing Floyd Mayweather, and I believe his father too, and they settled out of court, so he actually got some money out of Floyd before the fight. And the fact that he went litigious, that prevented them from even negotiating for a long time. Like, at times, like, they felt a certain way, like, yo, you sued me, you got money out of me, and now you want to fight me, now you want to make money with me, like, get out of here. So that's pretty much what happened there, and that's why the fight took so long to happen. But that's just the why the fight took so long to happen. I'm here to talk about if the fight would have happened. If the fight would have happened in 2010, who would have won? Because that's when both of them were in their bona fide prime. Let me look at Manny Pacquiao for that fight. He had just beaten Miguel Cotto. And in pretty brutal fashion, dropped him twice and just pretty much just straight up dominated him up until the fight got stopped in the 12th round. So that was very, very impressive. And Floyd Mayweather had just beat Juan Manuel Marquez, who we know is somebody who has Pacquiao's number. Like, say whatever you want about Juan Manuel Marquez. Marquez always gave Pacquiao trouble. Some people think he won all 4 fights. Some people think he was robbed in the first and the second. Some people think he was robbed in the third. And by the way, all those fights, I'm going to rescore on the official scorecard. And we're going to give you who really won on those fights. But That's neither here nor there. So this fight was brewing, and it was hot, hot, hot when 2010. But before I get into who I think would have won, I want to get into some questions. I want to get into a list of things of who breaking down as to who had better certain attributes. So first, I'll start off not attributes. I'll just read off this list. Who was more entertaining? I would say Manny Pacquiao was a more entertaining fighter. And by the way, I didn't find Floyd Mayweather boring. Floyd Mayweather, broke down boxing to a science where hit and not get hit, and he wasn't somebody who ran around the ring or held a lot, or he was somebody who used his counter punching ability, used the shoulder roll, consistently landed straight right hands and hard jabs, and sometimes leaped them with a left hook. I really like Floyd Mayweather's style. I found him entertaining. But if we're talking about raw entertainment, there's no way we can pick Floyd Mayweather over Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao had wars with, that fight with Keith Thurman later in his career was a fantastic fight. The fight with Miguel Cotto was an entertaining fight for the first 4 or 5 rounds, which was when it was competitive until he started dominating and really beating up Cotto. So, like, both had dominant performances. But I'd rather see you dominate somebody with beating the crap out of them than dominate somebody defensively. As far as entertainment value, Also, he knocked out Ricky Hatton with one punch, very, very viciously in the second round, when it took Mayweather, I believe, 10 rounds. And although it was a good knockout, but it wasn't as vicious and as entertaining as the Ricky Hatton one. So I'm gonna have to go Manny Pacquiao as far as who was more entertaining. As far as who had a better resume? Now, it's hard to say Pacquiao had a better resume than Floyd. When whatever you say Manny Pacquiao did, just know that Manny Pacquiao is on Floyd's resume. It's almost like that's almost like the checkmate response in terms of who had a better resume. It's like, oh yeah, Pacquiao beat Marquez twice and Barrera twice and Morales twice. Well, you know who beat that guy who beat all those guys? Mayweather. Also beat Canelo. Beat Oscar De La Hoya, Jose Luis Castillo and Diego Corrales. And Manny Pacquiao himself. That his resume is amazing, but so is Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao. The debate is actually closer than a lot of people think. I do think that the tipping point is, all right, he beat you though. Like, you're on his resume. Like, yeah, you do have a great resume, but he beat you. So that means you're on his resume. So that's the checkmate answer as far as who had the better resume. Who had the better record? The record of Mayweather has of 50-0 or of Manny Pacquiao, 8 division world champion? Which one is a better accomplishment? I'm going to have to say the better accomplishment is Manny Pacquiao winning 8 division world titles. And if you even want to make the argument that boxing is corrupt and these sanctioning bodies, they don't know what they're doing, and that belt at 154 was a fake belt because he fought for a vacant against Margarito, who wasn't the number 1 ranked contender, and that was Manny Pacquiao's first fight at 154. Let's just say you want to make that argument. Manny Pacquiao still has the most divisions lineal. He has 5 lineal championships in 5 different weight classes. So no matter what you want to say as far as Manny Pacquiao's accomplishments, he is the most accomplished fighter in terms of weight classes, in terms of how many he's won. Manny Pacquiao, I feel, winning 5 lineal championships in 5 different weight classes and winning 8 championships in 8 different weight classes is more impressive than you going 50-0. Because 50-0, although is a fantastic record, means you fought 50 men, and particularly at the level Floyd Mayweather was fighting him at. When you fought 50 men and didn't lose to none of them, that is very impressive. But I can picture in my lifetime somebody going 51-0. I can picture that happening. I'm not saying it will, but I could. If Shakur Stevenson broke that record, would you be shocked? Or Devin Haney or Boots, or if these young guys coming up, if one of them broke that record, would you be absolutely stunned? I mean, I wouldn't. Now, would you be absolutely stunned if somebody won 9 division world championships and 6 division lineal championships? Like, that's not happening. That's not, at least as far as as long as I'm alive, I can guarantee you we're not going to see a 9 division world champion who's also a 6 division lineal champion. That's just not going to happen. And to me, that's a more impressive record than what Mayweather has at 50-0. All right. But let's say who had a better career? You got to go Floyd Mayweather. You got to go Floyd Mayweather. Although the divisional championships is more impressive than the 50-0, when you take into account, that Mayweather beat that guy who was the 8 division world champion, the fact that he beat Canelo, who's now was number 1 pound for pound for a minute and up until his recent loss, also made the most money, landed punches at the highest percentage in CompuBox history, then got punches landed on him at the lowest percentage on CompuBox history. That right there just goes to show you that there's undoubtedly he had the better career monetarily and statistically. If you take into the statistics of how many the percentage he was landing shots in as the percentage of the punches that were being landed on him. So I'm gonna have to go Mayweather as far as who had a better career. And let's get down to the nitty gritty. The reason why you guys click that, icon, because y'all want to see me talk about who would have won him back in 2010. Because we all know both fighters have lost a step by the time they fought in 2015. Manny Pacquiao had already got knocked out cold by Juan Manuel Marquez. That's a straight fact. You're not going to tell me that didn't take something out of it. But hold on one second. I'm about to cook on you. Manny Pacquiao back in 2010, man, was a force to be reckoned with, and I definitely think he would have had a better chance at Floyd Mayweather than he did in 2015. And although Mayweather, he was better back in those times, I don't think he was. I think when they fought in 2015, Manny Pacquiao had lost more than Floyd Mayweather had lost. Matter of fact, before I even give my my prediction as to who would have won then, I'm gonna pin the link to the top of the chat, man. I'm gonna pin the link to the top of the chat. Anybody who wants to call in and discuss this historic fight that happened, maybe happened too late for being honest, but I click that link, come through, let's have a conversation, man. And by the way, I'm having way too much fun with this YouTube, man. I'm loving this YouTube shit. I really, really am. All right, 1 second. All right, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. So for those who want to call in, please do. Let me know what you guys think. And but yeah, let me just say this. Mayweather at the time had problem fighting southpaws. And I'm not gonna say he was like couldn't beat a southpaw because he's undefeated. But if you guys remember in that Chop Corley fight, a southpaw, he got hurt really bad. And we're not gonna make the argument that Chop Corley's a harder puncher or a faster fighter or a smarter fighter than Manny Pacquiao. We're not gonna do. You're not gonna come on my channel and tell me that. Also, Zab Judah dropped Floyd Mayweather. A lot of people don't want to count it because the ref ain't counted. But I know what my eyes saw. Zab Judah punched. I believe it was an overhand left. Punched Floyd Mayweather, and Floyd Mayweather's glove touched the canvas, and the ref just didn't count it. So if somebody who's not as hard of a puncher and not as fast as Manny Pacquiao in Zab Judah could drop you, then I think Manny Pacquiao could drop you too. And that's no disrespect to Floyd. Floyd's one of the greatest defensive fighters. I'm going to say he is the greatest defensive fighter of all time. But Nobody's untouchable. And Manny Pacquiao was an all-time great. Now, if we get into Manny Pacquiao, the fighter that gave him the most trouble throughout his career, let's be honest, is Juan Manuel Marquez. Some people actually think he won the first four. He won all four fights. Obviously, the fourth fight ended in knockout, so there's no controversy there. But the first three fights, you can make an argument that Marquez had won one of those three. I definitely thought he won the third one. I got to rewatch all three. I got to rescore them on the official scorecard here on my channel. But I definitely thought that Marquez won that third one. So since that Marquez was somebody who gave him trouble, Marquez isn't as tall, nor is a better counter puncher than Floyd Mayweather, nor is as fast. So everything Marquez was doing to Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather could probably do even better, you know? So this style matchup would have been absolutely perfect both in their primes. And it's a shame that I have to make a video asking who would have won in 2010. But here we are. And I'm going to break it down. So basically how I see this fight going is Floyd being surprised in the early rounds that Manny Pacquiao is as fast as he is. That Manny Pacquiao, hold on one second. Yeah, so I picture him thinking, damn, I ain't know Manny Pacquiao was that fast. And him losing the first 3-4 rounds. Yeah, Manny Pacquiao was that dude. Manny Pacquiao was that dude. And guess what? I'm predicting that he would have dropped Floyd Mayweather once. Just once. He would have whoop, boop, boop, come with that whole foot movement, that side to side shit he would have done, throwing punches from weird angles. I think he would have clipped Floyd Mayweather with a punch he ain't see. But then I think Floyd Mayweather would have adjusted. I think he would have seen what was coming at him. I think Pacquiao would have slowed down a little bit. Just in general, everybody slows down as the fight goes on, no matter how good your stamina is. And Manny Pacquiao had good stamina. I can't remember off the top of my head a fight that he gassed out, you know. I think Floyd Mayweather would have then caught his rhythm and eventually slowed him down and landed the punches. And Pacquiao wouldn't have been as reckless and as how do I say, as excited to just jump in and jump out like he does with other fighters. I think Floyd Mayweather hit hard enough to keep you at bay. He wouldn't have dropped or knocked out Manny Pacquiao, I don't believe. I don't think he was that kind of puncher at 147. Also, he had brittle hands. So I think he was, even if he was a puncher, he was always very careful with how many punches he threw and being aggressive and getting the stoppage and stuff like that. So I think he would have slowed Pacquiao down, as well as Pacquiao slowing down due to fatigue, you know, after being the 6th, 7th, 8th round. And I think he would have adjusted and he would have ended up winning the fight 7-5, but getting dropped in one of them. So let's call it 6-5. And I picture Mayweather winning in that kind of fight. That's how I would have seen the fight going. And anybody who wants to tell me that, oh, Manny Pacquiao didn't have no chance back in 2010 because that's when Mayweather was at his best. You're being biased because you're ignoring the greatness of Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was an all-time great, whether you like it or not, whether you think he was using steroids or not. There is no smoking gun. There is no reasonable doubt that Manny Pacquiao was using drugs besides the fact that he didn't want to take the drug test. That's the only thing you can point to. You know what I'm saying? There is no Balco case. His name wasn't on no list. None of his, none of his trainers have a history of getting popped. His fighters getting popped. You know, Freddie Roach, not. You know, I'm sure he has fighters that have tested positive, but not at an alarming rate. Alex Ariza, his strength and conditioning coach, I'm sure he has fighters who tested positive, but not at an alarming rate. We can't accuse people unless we know for a fact that they tested that they use steroids. And Manny Pacquiao, as far as I know, never tested positive for steroids and never was associated with anybody who dealt in that world. So we can't say that. And we can't say that Floyd Mayweather was so much more better than Manny Pacquiao at that time. Again, I still would have picked Floyd Mayweather. Before you call in, because the link is pinned to the top of the chat. I'm not one of these YouTubers that I talk shit, but you can't talk back to me. No. I allow the people, if you got something to say and you want to get it off your chest, you think what I'm saying is no good, you think what I'm saying is cool, click that link. Click that link. I'm with all the smoke. And you could call in and I'll give you your time to express yourself. But getting back to my point. Although both had declined by the time they fought, I think Pacquiao had declined more in 2015 than Mayweather did. I think Mayweather was more disciplined, and as well as, didn't get knocked out, which Manny Pacquiao did in the Juan Manuel Marquez fight, which I spoke about earlier. He's a fighter who just had his number, who just knew his rhythm and was honestly just as tough as he was. Because, man, to get dropped 3 times in that first fight and come back to put the kind of performance Manny Pacquiao, Juan Manuel Marquez did, shows he had heart. Also, in that 4th fight, man, where he got the knockout of Pacquiao, in that 4th fight, he was hurt pretty bad. It looked like his nose was broken. He was bleeding all over the place, was losing that round clearly, and knocked the guy out with 2 minutes and 59 seconds left in that round. So, we have to pay attention as to what happened in 2015 and why that fight looked that way. Because I felt like, if my memory serves me right, Mayweather dominated that fight, and I don't think he would have back in 2010. But if you guys disagree with me or agree with me, click that link that's pinned to the top of the chat. Call in. We can have a conversation, and I'm with all the smoke. I'm with all of it. Every single one of them. Yeah, man. But by the way, again, for those of you just joining me, this was the fight that made Broadway Joel a hardcore boxing fan. Not the fight when it happened. Not 2015. That's not when I became a hardcore. I became a hardcore, was it 2009? 2009, 2008, around there. I don't back when they first was rumored to them fighting, that's when I was like, okay, this boxing shit is for me. Before that, I was a casual. Again, only watch the big fights, whether it be Lennox Lewis or, Roy Jones or Bernard Hopkins, Oscar De La Hoya, Shane Mosley. Who else was I watching back then? Tito Trinidad. Like the big fighters. That's who I was watching. But up until this fight came up into existence, came up as a possibility, that's when I became a hardcore. And again, from my eyes, both now and then, because you can't say, oh, you was watching from a casual perspective and that's what you basing it on. No, I go back and watch film. You don't believe me? Check out the official scorecard, how I be watching fights, how I break down fights. And you're not going to tell me that Zab Judah could drop Floyd Mayweather and that Manny Pacquiao wouldn't have been able to give Floyd Mayweather problems. That southpaw stance wouldn't have been able to give him problems. That he wouldn't have been able to drop Floyd the way Zab dropped Floyd. Like, come on, man. Come on. We need to remember how great Manny Pacquiao was. I feel like a lot of people, they pick and choose. They want to shit on another fighter to big up another one. Nah. Y'all know me. I think Floyd Mayweather one of the greatest of all time. Definitely in my top 5. Top 5 pound for pound. Definitely. But so is Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao was that great, man. He was that great in his prime. He was an offensive fighter and took a lot of punches. And by the time 2015 came, already got knocked out and been in a lot of wars. That Margarito fight, even though he won pretty handedly, he got touched up. And if I remember correctly, the post-fight interview, he spoke about like, man, like the guy really hurt me, man, especially to the body. You know, uh, he really put hands on him. I definitely like what I seen from uh, Manny Pacquiao at that time, but if we're being honest, the guy did have a lot of wear and tear when the fight finally happened. Hold on 1 second. Every Juan has an opinion says, I see it going the same way it went in their actual fight. Manny had some moments, but Floyd controls the distance with his jab and straight right. I can see your point, man. I really can. But if we're being honest, Manny Pacquiao allegedly had a shoulder injury going into that fight. I don't know if that's true or not. He had shoulder surgery before. He did make a request for a cortisone shot before the fight. So it's not like, you know, that this was totally out of left field. But I can't say that definitively the fight would have went the same exact way. I can't. I'm sorry. I know what I saw, man. I know what I saw when Pacquiao was rendering Ricky Hatton unconscious. You know what I'm saying? I know what I saw when he was beating the fuck out of Miguel Cotto for 12 rounds until the referee stopped it in the 12th. I know what I saw when he literally broke Margarito's face, when he dropped Mosley. You know what I'm saying? When he destroyed Oscar De La Hoya. I know what I saw. You know what I'm saying? Like that he would have had a chance, man. He hit hard enough, he was fast enough, and he had just as much as experience as Floyd Mayweather. And it was a 50-50 fight back in 2010. Put it like this. When they fought in 2015, Mayweather was number 1 pound for pound. Manny Pacquiao was number 3 pound for pound because number 2 was Andre Ward. In 2010, Floyd Mayweather was number 1. No, well, depending who there was a debate as to who was number 1. And the debate was between them two. It was between Manny Pacquiao and it was between Floyd Mayweather. Most people lean Floyd Mayweather, but even those who picked Floyd Mayweather acknowledge Manny Pacquiao was the number 2 pound for pound fighter. You get what I'm saying? So you're not going to tell me that if the fight happened when it was supposed to happen, that the fight would have looked the same when his ranking in the pound for pound list was different. Like, I'm sorry, bro. I don't see it that way. I really don't. Pretty Boy would have dropped Manny, but Money had bad hands. Well, yeah, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about Pretty Boy. We're not talking about Manny Pacquiao 130 versus Floyd Mayweather at 130. Now, if that was the conversation, then maybe we had. Maybe I'll pick Floyd by stoppage. Who knows? I haven't even thought about that fight at 130 because they were never at 130 at the same time. And by the way, if we're being honest, Manny Pacquiao has a better resume at 130 than Floyd Mayweather. I'm talking about resume-wise. Now, I'm not saying who would have won. Resume-wise at 130, man, I like Pacquiao got some wins, man. Pacquiao got some wins. Freddie, my guy, saludos, mi hermano, que lo que? So you feel Floyd waited Manny out? No, I do not think that. What I think happened was the drug testing, bro. Well, it's two things. The fight initially was supposed to happen March of 2010. Everything was agreed upon as far as split, and the network was going to be HBO, and everything was squared away. But then Floyd Mayweather last minute put in a new stipulation that never happened in boxing about random blood and urine testing, which, by the way, I feel is a good thing. In retrospect, it was a good thing. And honestly, in the moment, I felt it was a good thing. I was like, you know what? Yeah, test both fighters. Make sure that, both fighters are fighting clean. Manny Pacquiao, for whatever reason, didn't want to do it. I'm not even going to get into that. Didn't want to do it. And then Floyd Mayweather started accusing Manny Pacquiao of using performance-enhancing drugs. Then, as a result of that, Manny Pacquiao sued Floyd Mayweather, and I believe his father as well. Don't quote me on that, but I believe so. And they had to settle out of court, for defamation and false accusation against Manny Pacquiao. He had to pay Manny Pacquiao out of court. And once he paid him, he felt a certain way. It was like, you know what? I don't want to do business with somebody who just sued me. I'm not going to fight him, put money in his pocket, give him his biggest payday when he just took money from my pocket. And I think that's more what happened. You get what I'm saying? I think it was a matter of Honestly, the trickle down effect was Manny Pacquiao not agreeing to the random blood and urine testing. That's what happened. That honestly, that's what it is. And I feel like that's what that Manny Pacquiao got in the way of himself in that sense. You know, when he had his best chance at beating Floyd Mayweather, and again, I still do not think he would have beat Floyd Mayweather. I still think Floyd would have won. But at the same time, I still would have gave Manny Pacquiao a solid chance. Manny Pacquiao was a great fighter in his time, man. He did not agree, man. No, he did not. Come on, this is my era, bro. This is something I lived. It was the timeline of the blood test. Then he didn't agree. He didn't agree. That's it. Yeah, you want stop testing 14 days out or stop testing 21 days out. Stop doing it. Like, come on, bro. Come on. He wanted to stop doing all of that, but Floyd Mayweather was like, listen, in the Olympics is random blood and urine testing all the way up until the day of the fight, and you don't know if you're going to be tested the day of the fight. And he didn't agree. So no, I don't think Floyd waited Manny out. I think it was Manny's fault with the whole not agreeing to the random blood and urine testing. If we're gonna place blame, and you know, we got to blame Pacquiao, to be honest with you. And people may be misunderstanding what I'm trying to say. People may, oh no, this guy's a Pacquiao fan. That's why he's saying all this. That's what. No. What I'm saying, I don't care who would have won, who would have lost. I'm telling you, in my opinion, Manny Pacquiao had a legit chance, a 50-50 chance, a better chance than he did at 2015 when they ended up fighting. And had Manny Pacquiao won, I would not have been floored. I would not have been surprised. Now I would have picked Floyd Mayweather, but you know, I remember literally one time saying, this was right after the Ricky Hatton knockout, and I was like, I was a Floyd fan back then. I was like, man, I would bet my soul Floyd Mayweather beats Pacquiao. And then I remember saying that, and everybody was like, oh, you that confident? And I remember my heart just sinking to my stomach when the guy asked me that. And I'm like, I was like, yeah, I'm that confident. But inside, man, I was nervous, man. I was like, I just seen what this dude did to Oscar. And although Oscar was wagering, that's very true. But, you know, I just seen him do this to Ricky Hatton. I don't know, man. I was definitely nervous as to what he could do to Floyd Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? It just would have been a competitive fight. It would have been a close fight. And Manny Pacquiao had a chance. And anybody who says otherwise is just a fanboy, to be honest with you. Or you don't know boxing. You don't know boxing. I agree. Fight should have been in 2010. And it's a more competitive fight. Absolutely. But again, I still would have picked Floyd by decision, probably split decision. Again, in this hypothetical fight that I'm, talking about that would have happened 5 years earlier than it did, I'm picking Floyd, but I'm also saying that he's going to get dropped in that fight. You know what I'm saying? I think he would have been surprised how fast Manny Pacquiao was. That's what I think would have happened. I think Manny Pacquiao would have shown a lot more speed and angles and tricks than Floyd Mayweather was used to. And if you look in the actual fight, Pacquiao had his moments. Now, was it one-sided? I sure, but it was not. It was like 8-4 one-sided, not 10-2, not 11-1. I feel like it was 8-4. Manny Pacquiao had his moments, and that's all. That's with him slipping a little bit and having been knocked out a year or two before. So we got to give Pacquiao credit, man. Pacquiao's a legend, and I feel like Mayweather's perfect 50-0, including beating Manny Pacquiao, takes away from him. And if we're being honest, he was the second greatest fighter of his era, Manny Pacquiao, and first is Floyd. But what brings him over the edge is him beating Manny Pacquiao head to head. That honestly, if we're being fair, that's what's bringing him over the edge. Because if you take that win away, which obviously in boxing you can't do, the resumes are pretty close, man. The resumes are pretty close. 2 wins against Barrera, 2 wins against Morales, 2 wins against Marquez, knocked out Cotto, knocked out Hatton. Like you put that up against Mayweather going to the decision with Cotto, decision in Oscar. I guess Corrales, who I don't believe is a Hall of Famer, decision in Castillo twice. Who else? Maidana. Like the resumes are pretty comparable, but once you add that Floyd beat Manny, he also beat Canelo. Once you include him Floyd Mayweather beating Manny Pacquiao, like you got to say, hey man, he was the best of his generation. Floyd Mayweather was. He really, really was. And by the way, this was a great era as far as those two fighters. It's a shame they didn't meet because, man, would that have been a fight? But if we're being honest, we saw 2 of the greatest fighters of all time in our lifetime. If you're old enough to, I don't know if what's the age group. If somebody's 15 and when that fight happened, it was 10. They wasn't following boxing then, but I don't know what's the status. But if you were following boxing at that time, you would have known that you were watching history. You were watching 2 of the greatest fighters of all time. By the way, if I'm not mistaken, you can super chat me now. I'm not sure anybody wants to send me some money, wants to send me some bread and then support the channel. But if I'm not mistaken, you could send me a super chat for the first time. And I would definitely greatly appreciate that. But again, the link is pinned to the top of the chat. Anybody wants to call in and debate this fight with me, please do. Because again, I'm not ducking no smoke. Honestly, what inspired me going live today and talking about this was a Twitter space yesterday. Like, we got into a heated debate, me and a couple guys from Chicken Talk. Shout out to Lefty and all those guys. Where they were making it seem like Pacquiao had no chance. And it really annoyed me that Pacquiao got no chance. Like, yo, this guy's an all-time great. Like, y'all making it seem like this is easy work. And honestly, I slept on it and it was still bothering me. I was like, you know what? I got a YouTube channel. If I want to break down a fight and tell you how great Manny Pacquiao was, then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go live and I'm going to talk about it. By the way, this Saturday, for those interested, Danny Garcia is fighting Jose Benavidez. On the undercard, Adam Kalnaki's fighting. He's a Polish heavyweight who sells good in Brooklyn, so he's on the undercard. The fight's here in Brooklyn in the Barclays Center. And also, Gary Antoine Russell is fighting Rances Bartholomew, which I'm not a fan of Rances. Oh, my goodness. Hold on. Shout out to Randy. The first ever super chat I ever get is $100. Shout out to you, Randy, my brother. I appreciate you. However far this channel goes, you forever in your life could say, I was the first ever to send Broadway Joel a super chat. And man, what a super chat. Shout out to you. You ain't even write anything as far as a question, a comment, or anything. But you have a beautiful dog, by the way. Shout out to you. I greatly appreciate the $100. Wow, man. That's real support, man. If you just sent the $100 and forgot to comment again, I'll put it up on the screen and talk about it. But man, thank you so much, man. That was very nice of you, Randy. Shout out to you. Okay. That he must have he must also think that Manny Pacquiao versus Floyd Mayweather would have been more competitive in 2010. He's like, hold on, this guy know boxing. Let me send him $100. Either that was a typo. He meant to send me $1 and then $10 and added an extra zero by accident. He's like, no, I already sent it. I ain't even write the message. Damn. Nah, shout out to Randy, man. Appreciate that, man. You the man. But yeah, this Saturday, Danny Garcia versus Jose Benavidez. I honestly, I think Danny Garcia wins by stoppage, and it's not that Jose Benavidez is not a good fighter. It's that Jose Benavidez, after he got shot in his leg, man, his mobility isn't that good. I thought he lost his last fight, and I'm not quite so sure how dedicated and how invested he is in boxing. I don't know, like for what he just doesn't seem to like have that hunger so much. And once I see a fighter lose that, I kind of I'm hesitant to pick him, especially with an injured leg. As far as Danny Garcia, he's somebody who I can imagine losing the hunger, but he does have so much championship experience. Fought Lucas Matisse, fought Zab Judah, fought Keith Thurman, fought Sean Porter, fought Errol Spence. Has way too much experience, Although this is his first fight at 154. I just can't picture all that experience and having more mobility than Jose Benavidez. I can't picture Jose Benavidez, coming above that. I just can't. Although Danny Garcia is coming off a long layoff, so ring rust is a real thing. So we'll see how that plays out. But the fights here at the Barclays Center, I would have went if I was more excited for it. But it doesn't really move me. Like the fight is. I'm not saying it's a horrible fight because Danny Garcia is coming off a long layoff, but it's not a fight that it's worth me paying for. I'll be honest with you. I'll just watch it for free on Showtime. You know what I'm saying? I'm already paying Showtime, my Showtime subscription. I'll watch it there. Hopefully the fights on the undercard are good as well as the main event. Which, by the way, man, I'm the voice of Dominican boxing. So if you don't like me talking about Dominicans, this ain't the channel for you, bro. Anyways. By the way, the fights in New York, man, you can't put Elvis and Michelle and Carlos Adames and all these other guys that you have on PBC. You can't put them on the undercard of that fight. I'm very disappointed in not disappointed by probably the wrong word, but I'm annoyed that they don't see the Dominican market. They don't value the Dominican market. They don't know how to promote to the Dominican market. It's annoying. Hold on, I got a caller who wants to call in and discuss something. Frank, what's going on, bro?
Hey, what's up, man? Yeah, I chatted. I seen you because you had I had a similar thought with the whole belt thing. I think you did some videos on the WBA and WBC thing. That's how I found you off top.
Yeah, you a subscriber? You subscribe?
Yeah, I'm subscribed.
All right, cool. What's going on, man? What you want to talk to me about?
Oh, well, no, I mean your topic. Yeah, I actually had the same discussion. It's not. I don't really. I agree with you. Only thing I disagree is the reason why it didn't happen. But I agree with the Manny would have been very competitive, and that's why Floyd ultimately didn't want the fight.
Why did the fight didn't happen? Why the fight didn't
Well,
happen?
people say that it was the drug testing, and what I had the conversation, this was another person, was that Manny didn't agree to the test, which just is not true. He agreed to the test. He's on TV. He agreed to the test. If you do your research, you'll see that what Floyd kept doing was moving the goalposts. First, he was okay with a certain amount, a window of time, and then at the last minute, Floyd switched it to day up to the day of the testing. So then that's when Freddie Roach had actually said, "No, we're not going to agree to that."
I mean,
Floyd kept moving the goalposts, and that's just the truth. You can do your research, you can look it up. It's factually LA Times, Yahoo Sports. It's all right there.
I'll check it out. But either way, point is the barrier was the drug testing. And again, revisionist history. We look back, that actually was something good for the sport. After that, Lamont Peterson got caught, Andre Berto got caught.
No doubt, yeah.
A bunch of people got caught with this random blood and urine testing, and we're like, oh, wait a minute. So this actually works. This actually is necessary. So him requesting that wasn't a bad idea, and he was right into asking for drug testing all the way up to the fight. He was right. If you look back in history, history will prove Floyd Mayweather right.
Yeah, I mean that's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is that he didn't want the smoke with Manny.
But why would you agree to a fight and then put in conditions that if the other guy would have agreed to, then you stuck?
Well, the point is, and like I said, I mean, he was there. They were on a lot of platforms. Stephen A. Smith, who's the other guy? He skipped. Everybody question. You can. It's all there. It's 100 minutes of footage of Floyd. He got in a fight with Brian Kinney because he didn't want to say Manny Pacquiao's name. It's all there. He kept saying, well, I don't want to work with Bob Arum. Well, it has to be 55-45. Okay, well, it's the drug. Like he just kept moving the goalposts, and that's facts. It's all there. It's all documented. The Yahoo Sports, Kevin Idix, they all reported on it. That can't be denied.
I don't listen. I remember vividly Floyd Mayweather being on the Joe Buck show, announcing that it was agreed upon that they had were gonna fight March.
Yeah, they did agree.
They
yeah,
did
that was the
agree.
agreement.
And then last minute, Floyd Mayweather came out with the drug testing. Had Manny Pacquiao just agreed to it, where regardless of the timeline of when the drug testing would have ended, the fight would have happened.
No, Floyd kept moving it. He said,
no, but what I'm saying, if you would have just said, let's do it up to the date of the fight, I don't care. This is big money. This is
well, it was Freddie Roach who said that. If Freddie Roach had said no because it'll drain him. It's a tactic. Look, you know, I understand what you're saying, but you can't let someone just keep dictating to you, trying to punk you. Manny has to take a stand, because he was, and that's why. And then the other move is him accusing, and that's why he got the lawsuit against him. So it seems like, look, I agree with you that Manny, it was very competitive and could have possibly beat him. So we agree on that. And the reason why we agree is the same reason why the fight didn't happen until 5 years later.
I mean, do you think he waited Pacquiao out?
That it's very likely that he did. What's most likely?
No. Yes or no, bro? Don't give me no half-ass answer.
No, I'm telling you, yeah, that's what I think. A lot of people felt that way.
I don't agree. I don't agree because he would have waited longer. Pacquiao wasn't washed when he fought him. I never said that. Pacquiao obviously had lost his step, and maybe you saying that was him losing the step is enough for Floyd Mayweather to finally agree. Which, if that's your argument, that's a fair argument. But I don't think Pacquiao, by any stretch of the imagination, was a washed fighter who was on his last leg or anything like that.
Well, and also what Manny said is that he had a torn rotator cuff. So, and Floyd, and what else? Floyd never gave him a rematch. Why didn't he give him a rematch?
I mean, he beat him pretty convincingly. Like you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but you choose to fight Andre Berto and not Manny Pacquiao. That don't make sense.
Listen, I would have preferred a rematch, but you beat a guy who's tough, you move on. Sometimes,
yeah, but he's Money Mayweather, right? What is money? He says that to Brian Kinney. Well, I don't fight for legacy. I fight for money. So if that's your biggest money fight, then why don't you do that?
Well, that was Andre Berto his next fight? Like I don't think that's correct what you're saying.
No, Manny Pacquiao, yeah, Andre Berto, and then Conor, and it's over.
Hold on, I'm gonna double check that because I don't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah, man, that's what I'm saying.
Right. You may be right. I'm not arguing with you. Yeah, you're right. It was Andre Berto, then Conor McGregor. Yeah, I mean, hey, listen, Manny Pacquiao,
I'm just saying the argument can be made, and it's not trolling. It's not making up facts. It's just there's a very strong argument that Floyd waited Manny out.
Okay, well, listen, you saying Manny Pacquiao, right? After he had shoulder surgery after the fight, correct?
No, Manny had said that he had a shoulder injury coming into the
and then after the fight, he had shoulder surgery, correct?
I'd have to look that up. I don't know off the top of my head.
He did. I'm telling you, he did. You can look it up.
Okay.
I'm telling you, he did.
Okay.
He fought Pacquiao in May, and then his next fight was in September. So meaning Manny Pacquiao wouldn't have been fully recovered by September. He wouldn't have been fully recovered, went into training camp, and been able to fight Floyd. So he fought Berto, which was supposed to be his last professional fight ever, and then came back for the Conor McGregor fight. But if we're being honest, that was just a money grab. He made over $100 million. I honestly can't blame him in retrospect.
No, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
So his
of
last
course.
professional fight ever was 4 months after the Pacquiao fight, and then he retired. He fought Andre Berto. I don't see nothing wrong with that.
Well, if he's Money Mayweather and he's about money and not legacy, that's another. It makes a lot more money than Andre Berto would have. What
No,
did
but
Andre
no, but
Berto do?
my point is by September, Pacquiao wouldn't have been ready. And Mayweather's not going to put his life on hold. So Manny Pacquiao to get
He
surgery,
didn't.
recover,
He's not
then
going.
go to the gym, work out a little bit to see if his arm is 100%, rehab or whatever, and then go into training camp and then fight. And was like, no, I'm not putting my life on hold. I want to retire. I'm gonna fight Andre Berto probably for 40, 50 million, and boom, easy fight, and I retire.
Well, he waited 2 years to fight Conor McGregor, so he does.
Come on, fighting Conor McGregor is a total different thing. That's an easy fight. That's an easy fight. Why not fight it? Listen,
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying if your biggest money, he could have gave Manny Pacquiao a rematch.
but not if he wants to retire. I don't feel like Mayweather retired too early. Like I don't feel
Well,
like he
he retired
retired
at 50 and 0. That was his whole message the entire time was the 50 and 0.
I never heard him mention 50 and 0.
Well, yeah, because it's where who's the Jake? Is it Jake LaMotta? They
No,
retired at 50 and 0. That's the record he was always trying to break. That was the
it was Rocky Marciano who
Oh
retired
yeah,
at
Rocky Marciano.
49 and 0.
Yeah, so he wanted to break Rocky Marciano's record.
I never heard Floyd talk about records like that because if we're being honest, when he fought Berto and he retired at 49 and 0, he was not. He had absolutely no intentions to have another professional fight until Conor McGregor started talking about him, and then he saw the opportunity to make money and was like, "Oh shit!" And then boom, made the money. And now look, he's fighting. He's still fighting exhibitions across the world,
Yeah.
making
The rumor is he's gonna
15,
fight
$20
Conor.
million a fight.
Yeah, the rumor is he's gonna fight Conor McGregor again.
Yeah, I saw an article today. It's funny you mentioned that. I saw an article today with Dana White saying that was complete bullshit. That none of that is true. So,
Yeah.
how long
Well,
you been
even
a subscriber, by the way?
probably about a month since I seen those videos you made.
Okay, how do you like the channel so far?
I dig it. It's cool. I mean, all I look for is mostly, I know you have your angle, but objectivity, someone telling the truth.
Okay.
So, because that situation was very disconcerting to me. The whole scandal with the franchise belt and the regular belt, and the people saying that Devin Haney, that Loma ducked Haney because of that. I don't know. I mean, it all has to make sense.
Yeah, man. I mean, they're now on the same side of the street now. So I also heard that Loma's coming back possibly in October. That I heard that from a legit source, and actually no, it was reported, but I had heard it before it was reported. And he's coming back in October, and probably a tune-up fight. He's probably gonna have two if we're being honest. He's an
Who,
older fighter.
Lomachenko?
Yeah, he's an older fighter. It's pretty long layoff. I believe he
Uh
took a
huh.
year off. So
Yeah.
especially he was at war, probably didn't have the best training or if any training out there. Yeah, so I definitely they're on the same side of the street. That's where I was getting at. They're on the same side of the street.
Yeah. Well,
So
my prediction is that Haney is not going to fight Lomachenko. He's already said in interviews that if Cam was going to invoke the rematch, then he's going to move up after the Cambosos fight.
I mean, I don't know. That fight seems personal to me.
The what?
Haney and Loma. Also, if he moves up to 140, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I guess he could fight Tio, but Tio don't have a belt. And Josh Taylor, although he has two of the belts right now, was previously undisputed. It looks like he's gonna move up Josh Taylor. So I don't know if he's gonna have any more interesting. I mean, if he moves up and fight Tio, regardless of belts, that's a more interesting fight than Loma. I'll be honest with you. But other than Tio, I don't think there's another more interesting fight at 140 than there is at 135, unless he's having trouble making a weight, which I have no
Who
idea.
tail Devin Haney?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, the what happened is that Devin Haney, he was always a free agent, or that's what he said. He was always a free agent, and with the zone. But to get the Kambosos fight, I believe he had to do a 3-fight deal with the Top Rank.
Yeah.
And that's what people. Oh, he had to go to Australia and he had to take less money. But what I seen, and it could be rumors, or it most likely seems true though, that it was obviously going to be the 2 fights with Kambosos, and the third fight would be the Lomachenko fight. Okay. Because why would Bob Arum just have Haney come in and take his belts and leave? Because Haney wants to be a free agent. So the third fight would be a proposed Lomachenko bout, right? Like that would be their recruit.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that makes sense. I don't see Devin Haney turning down that fight.
Yeah, he did an interview where he said that. Well, if you remember, after the Kambosos fight, they asked him, "What do you see next?" And he says, "Well, I don't know. I have to see what makes sense." But why would you say that if you already have, you have a rematch with Kambosos and you have a third fight potentially with Lomachenko? I don't know why you would say if it makes sense.
Well, that's just posturing, man. They're not gonna come out and tell you what they're gonna do or want to do. That's just posturing. They'll tell you, "Yeah, I don't know. I may move up. Oh, you know what? Like." And then you go, "Oh, wait a minute, he may move up. Oh, listen, we'll give you an extra 500,000 for you to stay at 135. All right. Well, I was gonna stay at 135 anyways, but since you're offering the extra 500, I'll take it." A lot of times, what these people say through the media, as far as a lot of times, is negotiating leverage. Like Ryan Garcia saying, "Hey, let's fight at 140 for Ryan for Tank."
Right, but you can kind of predict, because now. Well, with him saying that kind of made me a little, ring bells. And then in the interview, he said if Cam invokes the rematch, then he'll probably be forced to move up to 140 because he's getting too big. So that told me that there's no Loma fight. And now you hear Bob Arum saying, already kind of positioning, saying, well, the fight I want to make is Shakur and Loma. So Haney is not going to fight Loma.
Okay. I honestly, I'm okay with Shakur and Loma. That's a great fight. It's an older guy.
That's not going to happen either, because what's most likely going to happen would be that Bob would be okay with Haney not fighting Loma if he gives up the belts, so Loma could come back and get the belts, because that's ultimately what they've always wanted. Haney would never would have got the fight because Kambosos was offered the most money for Lomachenko, but then the war happened.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see how it plays out, because Loma is a top ranked darling.
Yeah,
he seems to always be in position and always end up in these pound for pound lists, even though sometimes he doesn't deserve to be there.
Well, he gets the opportunities. He's, Bob Arum has a special.
He's on ESPN's top 10 pound for pound. Like, come on, bro. Like that. Like that's just being ridiculous. Like, this dude lost to Tio, then beats Nakatani and Comey in fantastic performances, by the way.
Right.
Mm-hmm. But right now, the landscape of pound for pound is way too deep. Yo, they had Jermell Charlo off the top 10 ESPN pound for pound. Looks like, get the fuck out of here, man. Jermell Charlo, undisputed, knocked out Brian Castano. Like, that dude's off the pound for pound list.
But to be honest with you, I've never been a big pound for pound person anyway. I think it's just like people say, it's just a marketing tool.
No, I mean, I disagree. I like the pound for pound list because I like to know who's the best. You know what I'm saying? Regardless of weight, who is the best?
But then you don't agree with it. So which one are you using?
Subjective, yes, it's subjective, but that's sports.
Well, it's not truly subjective. They do vote on it. It's like college football. There's a panel that votes on it.
No, but what I'm saying is with pound for pound list, there's no governing body. Like, see, when you talk about college football, there's a governing body that decides, okay, this is the ranking system of the teams, as opposed to pound for pound. Ring Magazine has their pound for pound list.
But that's what I'm asking you. Is that the one that you use?
I honestly, in terms of as far as pound for pound list, I use my own. But in terms of divisional rankings, I go by Ring Magazine. Ring Magazine,
Okay.
I feel no. And by the way, none of the rankings system is perfect. I just want to get that clear. But to me, the one who got it broken down the best is Ring Magazine. Yes, they're owned by Golden Boy, but Golden Boy isn't such a big player right now in boxing where um, they're manipulating their fighters.
Hello. I don't know if I can't hear
Yeah,
you.
my bad, my bad. My mic,
Okay. No
my
worries.
mic had fell off. But yeah, Golden Boy doesn't have enough fighters to manipulate the rankings to make their fighters look good. They're pretty much running that company based off 4 fighters. They're running it off Ryan Garcia, Virgil Ortiz, Jaime Munguia, and Gilberto
Hmm.
Ramirez, Zulda Ramirez. Those are the 4 fighters. And when you look at the rankings where those 4 fighters are, they seem pretty fair where they're at. Maybe Ryan's a little bit high, but everybody else is pretty much where they should be. Um,
Right. When ESPN did the rankings on the Barbosa fight, did they use the ring rankings or their own rankings?
they use their own rankings.
Or the ESPN do their own
Yeah,
pound for
yeah.
pound?
They do their own pound for pound. They do their own
Yeah, see, I mean, that's why I can't take
divisional.
it seriously because all these different outlets do their own. I mean, I can make my own and have my favorite fighter there. So that's why I don't do it because if people start talking and, well, he's on pound for pound, it's like, well, then what pound for pound? Like, you have to have some kind of
I don't know. I
uh
don't know. I feel like there needs to be a clear who's number one. I mean, it doesn't need to be, but for me, me organizing my brain as to what's going on uh uh in the sport of boxing, I need to know who's the
right.
best. You know what I'm saying? Like when Canelo was fighting, the reason he was much watched TV and all that is because he was number one pound for pound. At least in
Okay.
most
So
publications. And usually, what happens is most publications usually agree on the number one. That's not the case now. Now that Canelo lost, but before that, pretty much every a publication had Canelo Alvarez as number one pound for pound.
right.
Yeah.
Well, if I'm being honest, the only one I think I would respect is the ring, and only because, and call me superficial, is that's what HBO and ESPN. Well, Max Kellerman was really trying to push for the ring to be accepted as the title. Like he really went hard against the organizations during his time. He was always talking about ring and the lineal title.
No, I agree, and at one point, Ring Magazine had a perfect system of ranking their fight, the making their title be the lineal title, but now they allow the number one guy fighting the number three be for lineal, and it's kind of like, nah, that's not how
Well,
exactly how it works.
if I believe I'm correct, is that the ring is similar to college football, and it's journalists, that vote on it. People that have to, we think,
No, no, no,
be
but used to only be able to fight for the Ring Magazine belt 1 versus 2. Recently, they have gotten a little bit flexible where 2 versus 3 you can fight for the Ring Magazine, 1 versus
right.
3, sometimes even 2 versus 4. Like, and it's like, well, that's kind of devaluing what the Ring Magazine is supposed to represent. And yeah, but
No,
but
I
let,
understand you.
let me screen share right now what they have as their pound for pound list. I'm gonna read it
Okay,
off to you. Number one, they got Neo Inoue, who
yep.
that's who I think is number one, by the way.
I'm Yep.
So number two, they have Alexander Usyk. Number three, Terrence Crawford. Number four, Errol Spence. Number five, Canelo Alvarez. Number six, Vasily Lomachenko, which I don't agree with. Dmitry Bivol, Josh Taylor, Jermel Charlo, and Artur Beterbiev.
Okay, I don't have really too many problems with that, but I think if we're being fair, the only problem I have is the Bud on there. Now I know what. Okay, yes, is he the best? Yeah, I guess ESPN, but he's been inactive, just like he's been more inactive than Vasily Lomachenko. So we just kind of got to be fair.
No, when he didn't he fight? He fought in November. Oh yeah, and Loma fought in December. But in his last fight, he fought Porter and Loma fought Comey. If we're being honest, there's different levels as to who he beat. And he stopped Porter where Lomachenko didn't stop Comey.
Yeah, but we're talking about activity. That's what you said.
No, yeah, but also you got to remember who you beat and when you beat them matters.
Okay. Well, I mean, it's all subjective anyway, and that's why they vote on it. But that's why I don't use these because it gets too tricky to say,
Well,
who's
you could
better.
say divisional rankings is subjective.
Okay, well then go to one then, and we could look at
Well,
it. The one
listen,
I'm looking at,
the Ring magazine, I actually do. Let's just do middleweight. I just picked
yeah,
that off the top of my head, so I have no
there's
idea.
no there's no ring middleweight champion right now.
Oh, so you want me to pick one where there's a champion?
No, that's why I said go to the middleweight
Oh,
one.
okay. Yeah, let's pick middleweight, and then we'll discuss if you think that it's fair ranking or if the ranking system is out of whack. Because this is the ranking system I like personally best. Ring magazine.
Okay.
So the champion is vacant. Number 1 is Gennady.
Uh-huh.
Number 2 is
Charlo.
Jamal, excuse me. Number 3 is Andre. Number 4 is Munguia. Number 5 is Janibek. Number 6 is Chris Eubank. Number 7 is Ryota Murata. Number 8, my Dominican brother, Carlos Adames. Number 9, Sergey Deverenchenko. And number 10, Erislandy Lara. Seems about right to me. Maybe I'll move a couple things here and there, but
Avery's Laundry. How did he get up there?
well, it's a pretty weak division because number 9
Sheesh.
is Deverenchenko. Deverenchenko's 13-4, and he's number 9. It's just a weak division. I probably should have picked another one.
No, I want that one because there's no champion.
Yeah.
So,
I'm curious as to what 140 is because 140 they have a champion, but 140 to me is a stacked division. So I want to let's see.
I think it's go ahead.
No, the champion is Josh Hill. Number 1 is Regis Prograis, which
and he didn't get no love. And see, that's what I'm talking about. And he didn't get no love on ESPN. They just totally isolated him out. They didn't say his name at all.
Yeah,
that's bogus, bro. Because they were doing the Barbosa because they want Teofimo to probably get Barbosa.
All right. Number 2 is Jose Ramirez. That sounds about right.
He lost. Well, I guess he lost.
He lost to Josh Taylor, and then in his next fight beat Pedraza.
And he didn't look good either.
He didn't look good. You're right, but he did beat him. Jose Zepeda's number 3. Number 4, Jack Catterall. Number 5, Subriel Matias. Number 6, Arnold Barboza. Number 7, Shojahan Ergashev. Number 8, Batir Akhmadov. Batir Akhmadov, number 8. That seems off. Number 9, Gary Antoine Russell, and number 10, Sandor Martin. I don't know how Sandor Martin and Akhmadov got on this list.
Well, the Russell guy's fighting this weekend, so yeah, I don't really think much of him. I didn't see anything unless you did.
Nah, I agree. I'm on record for saying I think he's a talented fighter. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to make it seem like he's a bum and
right.
Yeah, no. He's gonna be a world champion, but people would make it seem like he's this can't miss blue chip prospect who's gonna take over boxing. It's like I don't see that. I don't even see him as the hottest prospect at 140. I'll be honest with you.
Whoever said that?
Now, listen. I'm on Twitter. I'm very active on Twitter. Do you have Twitter?
Yeah, I'm on there.
Okay, you gotta follow me, bro.
Okay, I will. No doubt.
So I'm very active on Twitter, and people are high on Gary Antoine Russell. I'm like,
PBC fanboys.
I'm like, bro. Like, get me wrong. Again, he is a talented fighter. I don't want to make it seem like I think he's a bum. I think he sucks. He's overrated. No. Well, I guess to some degree I am saying he's overrated, but I don't even see him as the hottest prospect at 140. To me, I like what Elvis Rodriguez does better. I like who else I like better than him. I think Subriel Matias will put hands on him. I think let me read the ratings because I'm going off the cuff right now. I think Jack Catterall beats him. Well, you know what? Let me not say that because I've only seen Jack Catterall fight once. I've only seen him fight Josh Taylor. I thought he beat Josh Taylor. You watched that fight?
Yeah, I seen the clips. I wasn't really too big on Catterall. I didn't see anything special from him.
No. I'm only basing it off that one fight. That's why I stopped myself. I was like, you know what? I've only seen him fight once before I start making predictions. But my point is, I do see talent in Gary Antoine Russell. I just don't see him as like a Boots, a Virgil,
He's
like
not the guy. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, like
exactly. That's
yeah, like no, no, no. I don't think he's that good.
because well,
As,
the one thing when people tell me if they're hyping someone says, "Well, what's the one thing? What is he? What's the one thing he does well?"
he's just a very aggressive fighter who throws a lot of punches, but I do feel like he gets careless with his defense. And if you
Uh huh.
fight a sharp puncher, like somebody like a Elvis Rodriguez, like that's gonna cost you. Or you fight a guy who's willing to trade with you and is a puncher just like you're a puncher, like Subriel Matias, that's not gonna go
Yeah.
well for you. You know, like Subriel Matias literally killed a man in the ring, literally. And I'm not trying to
Oh,
glorify, I'm not trying to make fun of the situation. I'm just being honest. The guy has a
right.
100% knockout ratio and literally killed the man in the ring. So you going in there throwing 100 punches, trying to brawl with him. I don't think it's gonna end up good for you if you go in to that with that mindset into a ring with Subriel Matias. I'm sorry, it's not gonna
Hmm.
go well for you.
Well, the way I look at it is, I mean, because I seen Barbosa, and yeah, he's ranked, but I just don't. I didn't see nothing spectacular or that he's the guy. Zapata, he's number three. Is he the guy? He's not the guy. And I never thought Jose Ramirez was the guy. I mean, he's a good fighter, but he's not the guy.
He was unified.
But okay, but the A plus plus, he's not that guy.
Now I see what you're saying. He's not like a pound
Yeah.
for pound fighter. I know you don't like pound for pound, but you saying it without saying it. Like you don't think he's like, So at 140, who do you see having that kind of talent coming up as well as at the top?
Now I know I'm gonna get flogged for this and people are gonna hate, but the most talented fighter there is Teofimo Lopez. I mean, the talent. Okay.
Yeah, we got to see. Listen, I listen.
Yeah, the
Teofimo's
book
one
is
of
out
my
on him.
personal favorites. I'm not going to disagree with you there in the sense, but we got to see him at 140, and we got to see where his mental game is. Every time I see an interview with him, he's
Uh-huh.
saying some dumb shit, saying crazy, wild shit. His father is still in his corner, and it doesn't look like he has a very stable situation.
Well, okay, and I understand what you're saying, and that happens a lot in pro sports, baseball, football, but the talent is there, the pure raw talent. I don't know who your favorite football player is, but when you watch a Tariq Hill, Patrick Holmes, you say that guy, he's just a level above everybody. The talent can't miss. Now, whether the kid he's a head case or not, you can't really say, but the can't miss talent, you see it.
No, I listen. Again, I picked him to beat Lomachenko. I totally agree with you. I'm not gonna disagree with you one bit, but I can't, you know, justifiably pick him as the top one of
Well,
the top talents at 140 when I don't know what he's gonna be at 140. Also, I don't know if he's big enough. Let's see how he looks
yeah,
first before we
yeah.
start picking him.
Well, who would you say then? Who's your pick?
Well, coming up, like the young guys, I'll pick Elvis Rodriguez. But as far as like top contenders right now, it's tough because I would say Josh Taylor, but I thought he lost his last fight against Jack Catterall. So it's like
Uh huh.
it's kind of open ended as far as who I think is the best.
Okay, but then let's make it more concrete than the talent. Just based on pure talent. Like I agree with you on the Josh Taylor. Just pure talent wise, he beats all the guys in the top 10. He's the guy until a more talented fighter comes and beats him.
Yeah, if we're talking about pure talent, I'm gonna go Josh Taylor. He's tall. I believe he's 5'11", which
Hmm.
is tall for 140. Has power. Dropped Jose Ramirez twice. Gotten first round knockouts before. Is a tough fighter. When he won the 140 tournament. Was undisputed. I can't take that away from Josh Taylor. I'm going Josh Taylor.
Okay. Yeah, and I just think the only guy that has the talent, athleticism, speed, punching power. Well, we'll see, but athleticism, speed, and just boxing talent. Teofimo is the only guy that I see that can compete with Josh Taylor. Now, does Josh Taylor probably stop him? Yeah, it's a high possibility.
Yeah, I mean, I'm he comes back. Like with Teofimo, I'm hesitant to pick him for any fight right now, if he was to fight any like top contender in like from 135 to 140,
Right.
I can't justifiably pick him against Haney or Tank or Ryan or Josh
You
Taylor. I can't justifiably pick him, even though I think if his head was screwed on right, he would win a lot of those fights I just mentioned. I just don't think I don't think he has it
yeah,
together.
the questions, and you're holding what's it, you're reserving your
Exactly.
you
Listen,
have reservations about
I'm
him.
a huge Teofimo Lopez fan, man.
Uh-huh.
Again, I'm a huge fan, but I can't ignore the signs of him going crazy. I
But
can't.
that's why do you go by Joel or Broadway?
You is Joel, not Joel, but you can call
Oh,
me
my
Broadway.
bad.
No, no, you good, you good. You can call me either Joel or Broadway, whatever you want.
I'll call you Broadway. Broadway. So, based on what we're talking about, so when you look at Ramirez, do you see any like overwhelming speed? What's Ramirez do? He's a grinder. Like he's just gonna outwork you.
Yeah,
Would
yeah.
you
I mean,
agree?
yes, but I'm not a big fan of Ramirez. I heard you mention you're not a big fan as well, but
Well, when we're
I'm not.
talking about, you asked me who the guy at 140 was, and that's why I'm trying to knock. Like you look as a Peta, he's a guy.
Yeah, and some
He'll
people
give
thought
good fights.
some people thought Zepeda won that fight against what's his name? Guy we just talked about, Ramirez.
But what do you see in Zepeda to make you think he'll be the guy? Nothing,
Now
right?
I can't picture him being beating Josh Taylor. If that's what you asking me, I can't picture him being the guy, the number one guy. No, I cannot picture that.
Yeah, that's why I'm showing that Teofimo most likely is could be the guy because of
No, no,
just the
no, no.
talent.
What I'm saying, like, right, you saying that if Jose Zepeda was to fight Teofimo, who I'm picking, but as of right now, I don't know who I would pick because I don't know what Teofimo is as far as his mental capacity. He's not
But
looking
you,
too good, man.
oh yeah, he beat that Josh. Is that you're talking about the Joshua Vargas dude? Jose, that was hilarious.
Josue Vargas knocked him out in the first round.
Hey, that he had talent. That's another guy that has the boxing.
He just
He's
got
a
knocked out
boxer.
again. He just got
No,
knocked out
yeah, yeah,
again.
but he had talent. That's what I'm saying. Like, um, just
I
going
never
on
was high
talent,
on him. I never was
huh?
high on him. I never was high on Josue Vargas.
You're looking at the other factors besides the talent.
No, he had a fight in Orlando on the Berlanga Damon Nicholson fight, which is the fight where I realized, like, yo, this kid isn't as good as I thought. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that's kind of like where I fell off, like thinking he was a
Yeah.
top product because he's from New York, like me.
Uh-huh.
So I know some people that know him, and I'll leave it that I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I just wasn't high on him. So
But
when
that's what's
I didn't think he
hmm
was gonna get knocked out in the first round.
well,
I'm not
but
crazy.
that's what's interesting about boxing, because you and I will be like, I didn't see it, but somebody's seen it because they're trying to put him up there. Like we just seen this Gabe Flores guy get catch a beat down, but somebody's seen it. I never seen it. Like you would say, I never seen it, but somebody somewhere are like, this guy, this the
Now
guy.
the thing is, if you a ticket seller, people will take a risk on you, especially if you got a nice, pretty undefeated record. People
That's a
take a
good
risk on
point.
you. People
True,
go, you know
true.
what? Just throw him in the undercard. He's gonna sell 100 tickets, 200 tickets, 500 tickets. You know what
Uh-huh.
I'm saying? Like
Okay.
if Edgar Berlanga was selling 100 tickets instead of selling out, the little room in Madison Square Garden, he would have been released with these horrible performances he's been putting up this
You
last few
bring up a
fights.
good point, man. You need to hammer that home more, because yeah,
Man,
that's
you talking to Broadway Joel, man. All I do is put out good points.
uh yeah, I mean, we're seeing that in Jaime Munguia,
Yeah.
good ticket seller. So
Hold on, hold
why
on, hold on, hold on, hold on. You just mentioned Jaime Munguia. Anytime we mention Jaime Munguia,
come on, man.
he is the
Don't do
biggest
that to
duck
him.
in boxing. Anytime
No.
anybody brings up Jaime Munguia, this duck comes out.
Are you serious? Why you
Because
going
he's the
throwing him under
biggest
the
duck in
bus?
boxing. Yo, don't get me turned up here. He is the biggest duck in boxing.
Can I just say something
Go ahead,
before
brother.
you before you
Go ahead.
bury him?
Talk about him. Talk about him. Because
Okay,
it's staying out the whole time. Go ahead.
before you bury him, uh, what I had predicted, or what I had thought is he's gonna get Triple G. That's gonna be his platform to superstardom. If he gets Triple G and beats Triple G, does that change
He
your
has a
opinion?
fight lined up, brother, against Canelo, September 17th.
Right, but Triple G still has a belt at 160. So what would make the most sense for both guys is that Triple G loses, he's gonna need a fight to come back. Munguia needs a fight. They want to push him to a belt and make him into a kind of a superstar, you know? So
Bro. Hold on.
it's
He
a lot
had
of
the
ifs.
opportunity to fight for a belt against Andrade for over 2 years. He was Andrade's mandatory and never exercised it. He could have
Well,
fought Carlos
mhm.
Adames in the WBC eliminator. Chose not to do that. He could
Right,
have fought Janibek in the WBO for a WBO interim fight. That didn't
but
happen.
right,
Like,
but
you telling me he's gonna sit waiting on his hands for fucking 40-year-old who's about to get knocked out in 168 to come back and fight him?
no, because we were talking about I'm leading off of what you said about the ticket sellers. Okay. So the Berlangas, they're just gonna keep feeding and feeding because they can put people in seats.
Yes, sir. I understand that. But at some point you have to fight somebody. Like
And it's gonna
look
be
at
he's
hold on,
gonna
I'm gonna
fight
put up
Triple
this
G.
list. What was that?
He's gonna fight Triple G.
Even that, I'm not gonna give him full credit for. You fought
Oh,
all these bombs to fight a guy who's 41 coming off a loss. Like, come on, bro. We've been having a smart boxing conversation up until now, man. Look, his last fight, Jimmy Kelly, Demetrius Ballard, Gabriel Rosado, Camille Zeresmeta. Toriano Johnson actually is not a horrible opponent, so I'll give him credit for that.
don't kill the
Gary
messenger. Yeah,
Gary
don't kill the
O'Sullivan,
messenger. Yeah, I'm
Patrick
not.
Lottie. Like, come on, bro. Yo, his resume is trash.
I agree. That's the thing. I mean, just I agree. I'm just telling you what's a most likely scenario, and that just makes sense because you were talking about ticket sellers, how they groom these guys. Flores, Berlanga, they're gonna just keep milking it, and Munguia can sell tickets. He can do numbers.
All right. Sorry, it's just a trigger for me. Anytime anybody brings up the biggest duck in boxing, it's a trigger for me. Like, yo, what he's done in the sport, man, is very disappointing to me. It's very disappointing what he's done in the sport as
Hmm.
far as never fight. Like, you telling me, because I can understand you saying, oh, he's a ticket seller. We're not trying to put him in with Andre, a tough fight he might lose. Even though that's a duck, I can understand that. But you can't
Right.
fight Carlos Adames for a WBC eliminator to become Charlo's mandatory? What? That makes
Well,
no sense to me.
yeah, yeah, to me and you, but in the boxing world, it does.
But Carlos Adames is not that difficult of a fight where he need to avoid fighting Carlos Adames. And Carlos Adames is also a good enough opponent where people are going to roll their eyes like, damn, that's the guy you fighting? Carlos Adames is
Hmm.
a good, decent fighter. We actually just did the middleweight rankings. He was ranked number 8. So you're fighting somebody who's in the lower half of the top 10, but somebody who's respectable, somebody who people are familiar with. Instead, you fight Jimmy Kelly. Come on, bro. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do
No,
that.
yeah, I completely agree. I mean, he's 40-0 already. He should be fighting the tough fights, but that's what it looks like. They're just gonna protect him
Let
until
me
they
ask
can.
you, what fight would you rather have seen? Jimmy Kelly or Carlos Adames? Be honest.
It doesn't really matter.
No, what do you mean it doesn't matter?
He's not gonna get credit for either one. It's gonna be kind of the same thing until he fights one of the names. It's gonna
Nah,
be the same.
he would not be getting buried if he would have fought a Carlos Adames, because Carlos Adames is a good fighter who just beat Deverenchenko, who's a top 10 middleweight, who's ranked right now number 1, but at the time number 2 in the
Right.
WBC.
But you're a smart guy, Broadway. He's not gonna fight Janibek. He's not gonna fight Andrade. He's not gonna fight Charlo.
Listen, then that's why he's the biggest duck in boxing. That's the exact reason. You saying he's not going to fight this guy, not going to fight that guy. Yeah, because he's the biggest duck in boxing.
Okay, but think about it. If he gets a Triple G and gets that belt, he's actually above Charlo and Janibek.
Well, can you repeat that? If he beats who?
If it lines up correctly and he goes out and him and Triple G have a showdown sometime next year and he wins and he gets a belt, he's going to be ahead of Janibek. Well, Janibek might end up getting a belt.
Yeah. But you banking on what if Triple G gets knocked out and retires? Like you banking on a maybe of you fighting a 40-year-old. Like he's not gonna get no credit from me, not a single ounce of credit. If he comes, wait and fight Triple G coming off a knockout loss to Canelo in a higher weight class. Nah, hell no.
Well,
Hell no.
but from a that's why I'm saying from a boxing smart management, that would make the most sense.
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Black
Mhm.
and Brown Boxing, my guy, Broadway Joel. What up, brother? Shout out to you, Black and Brown. You know the link is pinned to the top of the chat if you want to call in. I appreciate the $10. You know, I really, really do. Right. He said, I just got in. Who we talking about? Well, right now we talk about Jaime Munguia being the biggest duck in boxing. My man Frank is trying to explain to me how how you know it's a business move, and I'm trying to explain to him there's certain moves that I'm seeing that is more than just business. It's just he's genuinely not trying to fight anybody with a pulse.
I never disagreed. I said, yeah, I agree.
Yeah, but you trying to justify it. You trying to excuse it. You trying to make it seem like it's okay. You're not outraged.
No, I
You're
never
not
did that.
disappointed.
I
You're
never
not
did that.
disgusted.
I never said I wasn't. I never tried to justify it.
No, but you
I can't be.
like, oh, but you got to understand, you know, this is a business and he's a ticket seller. And like, nah, man, I don't want to hear that shit, man. Listen, make the fight.
I understand
and
that.
I understand. The guy's 25 years old. What's his record? 40-0? Bro, papito, at some point you got to fight somebody. At some point you got to fight, you know, a Carlos.
But you just said yourself, if he fights
that.
Triple G, you're not going to even give him credit.
Coming off a loss, bro. Coming off a loss to Canelo, you want me to give him credit?
He has a belt. He's still IBF champion.
And he's actually unifies IBF and WBA.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yes, he is a champion. Okay, but you just sat there and fought a bunch of nobodies.
Who doesn't?
To then fight Triple G, 40 years old, who you may not fight. What if Triple G decides to unify with Charlo? And now you just sitting there waiting on nothing.
Well, I mean, he's not going to fight Charlo. Triple G's not going to fight Charlo.
You never know. What if Triple G retires? Are you gonna? What happens? What's the game plan then if Triple G retires after the Canelo fight? What's the game plan?
Well, then Munguia probably will be in line for one of those titles.
But that dude has been in line for one of those titles for like 4 years. No, 2 years. He's been in line for the WBA title for 2 years.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, yeah, we cannot like it, but it's still the way things work. I mean, we just seen Keith Thurman jump Virgil. So, you know, these things happen, man. I mean, we don't like it, but it's just the way it's going to happen.
Yeah, man. I don't like how Jaime Munguia has been handling his career. It's been horrible. It's been an absolute disgrace to boxing. And to be quite honest, I'm actually surprised that more YouTubers and more analysts that on TV have not been calling out this chronic ducking. This shit is crazy. This shit is crazy how bad it is.
Well, define ducking then.
Not fighting people when the governing body is putting you in position to fight them. That's a duck to me. When the WBC tells you if you fight Carlos Adames, you'll be Charlo's mandatory, and you don't exercise and you don't send a petition for that fight to happen, that's a duck. When the WBO tells you you're the mandatory to Andrade and you don't exercise your mandatory, that's a duck. When the WBO tells you if you fight Janibek, you're the WBO interim champion, which will also make you the mandatory for Andrade, and you don't fight Janibek, that's a duck. He is the biggest duck in boxing, my brother.
Understandable.
I told you, I get turned up when this dude get brought up, man. This dude
Munguia? I didn't know it was
he's the reason the middleweight division is trash. Yo, when's the last middleweight fight you've been excited for? It's been a minute. It's been a minute. We'll be here all day by the time you think of something. It'll probably be Canelo versus Triple G. That happened like 6 years ago.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, yo, this dude is held up the division. If you'd have fought Andrade either would have beat him and got his name up, or he would have beat division, Andrade, and now he would have had a belt, and the division would have had more interest. If he would have fought Janibek, that would have brought more interest for the guy whoever won. Same thing if he would have fought Adames. If he would have fought Adames, he would have been in position to become the mandatory of Charlo. He would have been Jamal Charlo's mandatory. But since he didn't do all that, the division just been at a standstill, and everybody's been fighting nobodies.
No, that's not a lie. I don't detect any lies in what you said. Again, you're preaching to the choir. You don't have to convince me. I agree.
Again, my bad. Again, my bad, bro. It's just this dude's a trigger for me, man. This dude, man. I'm like,
I didn't know, man.
The middleweight division is one of the most historic divisions in boxing, and like, yo, this dude is not doing nothing, man. It's crazy.
No, I agree. I mean, there's no champion there. You got Andrade, Golovkin, Munguia, Eubanks Jr., Derenchenko, Murata.
Yeah,
but now Golovkin's going to be held up for a year, so those belts will be stagnant.
Yeah, I'm looking at the top 10 right now, and only Triple G and Murata has fought each other, and Carlos Adames and Sergey Derenchenko have fought each other in the whole top 10.
Yeah, well, like a good friend explained, I mean, it's just a fractured sport, and that's why, I mean, I know you got triggered, but that's why I explained what Munguia most likely is going to happen. And it's not me being a proponent for it or against it. It just I could say, okay, well, if you're a manager and you're protecting your ticket seller, then that just makes a lot of sense.
No, but the thing is, Demetrius Andrade fights in the zone. So Golovkin fights in the zone.
No, Andrade's a free agent now, isn't he?
No, I'm talking about when he was his mandatory. I interviewed Carlos Adames. By the way, I have a bunch of interviews. You said you just started following me. If you want to go back in my history, I have a bunch of interviews. Okay. I interviewed Carlos Adames. He said he would have been willing to go to the zone. So it's like I don't want to hear that cross the street shit with this guy, man. Not with this guy. He's had plenty of opportunities, and for whatever reason, he has not made the fights that the fans want to see.
Well, it's easy to explain. It's they're protecting them.
Bingo.
But that's what I'm saying. I agreed all day, every day. You never had to convince me.
Yeah, man. This dude, I just can't fuck with this dude. I can't fuck with this dude.
What? No, I agree 100%. But I mean, I hope he does fight Triple G. I think he'll become a superstar after that.
Listen, if he fights Triple G and becomes a superstar, his next fight better be Jamal, Andrade, Janibek, Carlos Adames, all the guys he ducked. He needs to fight them in a row.
Well, you know, and that, I mean, you're gonna probably get triggered again, but you know that's not gonna happen. They'll just gonna milk it.
That's why he will continue to be the biggest duck in boxing. He needs to fight 4 or 5 names that I respect for me to take that name off of him. For real. That's just how it is, man. But once you get stuck with that duck on your resume, and forever that will live on my channel that you was the biggest duck in boxing, until you prove to me otherwise, you are going to continue every time your name gets brought up, whether it be by somebody calling in or by me, or when you announce your fight, or when you get married and it's in the news. I'm going to bring out this duck and let you know you're the biggest duck in boxing. That's it. That's on your resume, brother.
Well, and that kind of just brings it full circle. If you could, and you know, you got upset. And we agree with Manny. It was competitive, and hey, Floyd, it could be argued that that's what he did.
Listen, you bringing the conversation full circle. I mean, I don't think he aged out Pacquiao. Honestly, Pacquiao's younger too. Like a lot of people forget that. So I don't think or I guess waited until Pacquiao was a little bit more worn, you know, because
it happens.
I don't think that's the case. I think it was the drug testing. It was Manny Pacquiao's fault. The fight didn't happen earlier, but then
how is it Manny's fault?
Because he didn't agree. All you got to do is sign that contract.
Agree.
Listen, I agree to every single testing you want. Test me every single day in my training camp. I would have been like, let's go. Let's make that fight happen. I could beat you. I'm confident. I'm not doing drugs. And by the way, I'm not one of these people that think he was doing drugs. I interviewed. By the way, my interview game is on point. I interviewed
Okay.
Samson Lukowitz.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. He brings in all those Argentinian guys, right?
yeah, he has a lot of Dominican fighters too. Uh,
He finds beasts, man. I've always been impressed with his eye for talent.
yeah. I interviewed. I had him in the studio and everything in New York, man.
Wait, yeah, I think I did see that clip. I was gonna watch it. It's in my watch later.
Yeah. Make sure you watch it and hit a like button and all that. But yeah, he spoke how when he brought Manny Pacquiao in his first fight under his because he was a matchmaker first. So
He was
the
with Murad when he was with Murad Muhammad. Is that what you're
yeah,
talking about?
he spoke on all of that in the interview with me. So when his first fight with Murat Muhammad, where he fought Ladabwa,
On De La Hoya under pay-per-view, right?
yes, on exactly on De La Hoya's undercard, he did his blood work with the Las Vegas Commission, to make sure he didn't have like HIV and
Uh-huh.
the normal screening, and he passed out, and he later told Samson Lukowitz that he just didn't like needles. And people like to say, oh, if he doesn't like needles, why he got all these tattoos? There's a big difference between you getting tattooed with a tattoo needle and you getting injected with a needle. You know what I'm saying? So honestly, some people are scared of needles. Like me personally, I'm not necessarily scared of needles, but when I am getting injected, whether it be to get blood taken out or doctor's office to inject me with a vaccine or something, I personally look away. I don't look at
I do too.
So there's some people who are more scared of more scared of things than others. Some people scared of heights, some people not. I'm personally not afraid of heights, but some people are. And I believe that he was scared of needles.
Okay, so you actually helping my case.
No, but no. When you telling me I can make a legacy fight for the most money in my career, I would do it. And plus, you passed out and still beat the fuck out of Ladabwa. So it's like, if you did that here, let's do that there. And it's not even you're gonna get tested the day of the fight.
Well, Broadway, I think history always seems to repeat itself, and we're kind of seeing this in the Earl Spence, Terrence Crawford. I don't know if that's a bag you want to kick, but I'm only saying it because of the Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather situation, and about are they ducking, or it could be argued that they're ducking. We'll never know. I can't sit here and say, yeah, he definitely ducked, because I don't know.
No,
I'm just saying.
I can't say Mayweather or Floyd duck each other.
I don't say. Yeah, and I'm not trying to sit here. I guess people get mad because they think I'm saying, "Oh, Floyd ducked for sure." It's like, I don't know, but if I'm looking at things and I read articles and I see what different people said and try to bring it all together, it's a strong argument. That's all. And
by the way, Frank, where you from? I like to know where my calls are from.
I'm from the Bay Area.
Okay. Go ahead, continue. My bad.
Okay, no worries. So bringing up Earl Spence and Terrence Crawford is, the holdup. What's holding it up? And you could argue one of the things the rumor was that Earl Spence, he has his new promotional company. So Terrence is not going to fight under Man Down Promotions. Like, that could be a major holdup. Would you agree?
No, honestly, what I think is it depends how you look at that. Either they lowballing Terrence Crawford, or Terrence Crawford is pricing himself out. Depends on which way you want to look at it. And the reason why I say that, people are like, "Oh, how the hell you know that? You're not in the negotiating."
Yeah.
Why would you say that, right?
Right.
But if you go on the PBC podcast, Tim Smith, the vice president of I think I forget, communications of PBC or something like that. Point is, he's the vice president of something in the PBC. He mentioned how, like, we don't want to disrespect Terrence Crawford with an offer, but if we look at his numbers, they aren't there, and this and that, and blah 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 blah.
Right.
You talk about somebody who works for a company saying how he doesn't even want to make an offer because he doesn't want to disrespect Terrence Crawford, meaning, I don't think he's worth what he thinks he's worth. You
Uh-huh.
understand what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it depends which way you want to look at it. Is he?
Well,
No, go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead.
I'm okay. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's almost similar to what Floyd did, and why I'm saying what I'm saying. So at first, if you remember, Earl Spence had said, remember, it was always the other side of the street. That was the
Yeah,
holdup. Okay. So now he's not. Well, what is it now? Right? It's 50, 50. Like that's what Floyd had did to Manny. So now that could be the holdup. It seems, and then, oh no, second, Earl had said, oh, well, you need to get a belt. So what does Bud do? He go gets a belt because
in his
remember,
first fight.
Earl,
In his first fight, by the way.
yeah, Earl Spence's whole thing has always been he strap season. He had the hat, everything. So, well, then, like, it just keeps changing. Other side of the street, get the strap, and now what is it? What's Earl saying now?
I
Or
mean, they're
PBC?
negotiating. I mean, you haven't heard either side downplay the fight happening as of right now. Both camps are really quiet. That means they're negotiating. Now,
Mm-hmm.
maybe you're like me. I'm growing impatient with the negotiations. I want them to announce it already. I want them to give a date, but unfortunately, right now the shit's not happening. They for whatever reason not and haven't announced it yet. They're still negotiating.
But
I think that they're killing time and promoting by not announcing it early. The fight most likely is going to
uh-huh.
happen in November. That's the date I keep hearing from people who I know that are close to the situation. Uh, Particularly the date. I did some like me and a couple guys on Twitter. We did some math, and it's looking like most likely November 12th or
Oh, okay.
November 19th. This isn't from a source. I don't want to make it seem like I heard it from a source and I'm saying like me and a couple friend of mine, we're like that. Those two dates are most likely going to be when the fight happens.
Well, and even that fight is going to be tainted because of Earl's eye and crash, and it should have happened earlier. That's why I say history repeats itself. It should have happened earlier. They're saying Bud is already 35, so they're already ramping up the excuses.
Nah, but
Uh,
both are coming off stoppage losses. And in Spence's case was a unification match, and in Terrence Crawford's case, it was against his toughest opponent at welterweight. So I dismiss those arguments, to be honest.
well,
Unless
yeah.
unless Crawford wins by stoppage and it was because of the eye, then I can see somebody making that argument. But
Well, the highest peak for this fight when they were both at their peak primes, just like we're saying with Manny Pacquiao, it was 2010 when it was the highest of the highs when
nah,
it should have happened.
nah,
So
I do.
Earl and Bud,
I don't think this fight has lost that much steam. If anything, I feel like the fight is more bigger now. If I'm being honest with you.
no, not in sense of steam, but I'm saying in the fighters. We're just taking the fighters.
Oh,
The
you're talking
fighters,
about competitiveness.
yes, the Earl before the accident. Like like we're trying to level the playing field, all things being equal, because that's what ultimately we want to do. We want to say, okay, all things being equal. Like when Lewis fought Tyson, we know that wasn't the real Tyson. Like we want to say no, 19 whatever when
88.
Mike Tyson fought Spinks, that was the Tyson. He would have beat Lennox Lewis. This is what fuels boxing arguments.
No, I agree. I agree. And honestly, I probably would have picked Tyson of 1988 over any version of Lennox Lewis, but that's just me being biased. As you can see,
Uh
there's a Mike Tyson poster directly behind me.
But then the waiting, the fight going past the expiration date does matter.
Well, listen. So you picking Crawford? I'm assuming, right?
No, my first pick was Earl Spence. I've always liked. I'm not a fanboy. I'm not a groupie, but I always liked Earl Spence. I thought he was. I seen him his first fight on PBC out of the Olympics. Bud was a latecomer. He wasn't a big, well known. I think the story he jumped on a card on a TV and impressed. So Bud kind of came late after Earl. So I picked Earl Spence, but now I'm kind of leaning towards Bud um, because of Earl's eye with detached retina.
Yeah. See me, I always pick. You know what? I'm gonna leave that for another day, man. I can't give up. I
You
gotta make.
asked me, be fair, bro.
Nah.
You don't
The
have to
thing is,
do a deep dive. You could just tell me
nah. I
or
mean,
your
the thing is,
people, the
I'll put it
people.
like I'll put it like this. I'll answer it this way. I always favored Spence. Always favored
So
Spence.
we agree, right?
Yeah, because the thing is with Spence is well with Crawford, I feel like he gives up a lot of the early rounds, adjusts, and then gets the stoppage. And yeah, you could do that with Jose Benavidez and even to a certain degree Sean Porter, but Spence is a different animal. He's taller than you. He's a southpaw. He has a really good high guard. Goes to the body real well, and has I don't want to say I don't think his boxing IQ is as high as Bud, but I
Uh-huh.
definitely do think it's definitely a very respectable, and I think
Uh-huh.
that would it's I think Crawford's idea of getting the stoppage late and using that clutch gene that he has, I think it may be too late, and Spence may get him.
Okay, that's a fair analysis. The mistake I see people saying is they say, "Oh, well, Bud, he's ambidextrous and he can throw from any angle." And then the other side says, "Well, Earl, he destroys bodies." And I said, "Here's the thing that I take into account, and I think people miss is that this is the best guy that each has ever faced.
Mm-hmm.
There's nobody like each one, and so they're gonna cancel out a lot of each. That's a 50-50 match, right? It's like my best weapon versus your best weapon, or my what's my weakest link and your weak. Like they're all gonna cancel out. It's gonna be a 50-50 fight. So we can't really say, well, Bud does this and Earl does that, but guess what? They're gonna cancel each other out. You understand what I'm saying?
No. I definitely get what you're saying. Yo, but Frank,
Okay.
I appreciate you rocking out with me and having a good conversation, man. Don't
Yeah.
be a
Thank you.
stranger. Anytime I'm live and you see that link, definitely you're more than welcome to press it and have
What?
a conversation with me, man.
Yeah, Broadway. I just wanted to. Yeah, thank you, because most conversations end up in cussing and screaming, and I just appreciate that. Maybe we disagree, but you didn't belittle me, and I don't
No,
want to take shots at you.
no, I'm not like that. Unless you bringing up Mungia, I'm warning you now, bro. That's a trigger for
Okay,
me, man. If you don't
okay.
want me to get crazy and start yelling, just don't bring them up.
All
Don't bring
right, I
them up.
respect. I
The whole
respect
time
that.
you telling me you agreeing with me and I was turned up. So imagine if you disagree with me with Mungia. So
Facts.
I'm definitely not one of those guys that dismiss people's opinion, even if we do disagree.
Right.
Whatever, this is boxing, you know.
Well, it didn't resort to like screaming, which I see a lot of people devolve to.
Nah. I'm not that type of guy. I'm not that type of guy. But I wanted to tell you, I do something called the official scorecard, and I also do something called good stoppage, bad stoppage. I'll explain to you right now. So
Okay.
the official scorecard is where me and usually it's about four of the panelists. We watch a fight on our laptops,
Okay.
and we have our viewers, meaning like let's say somebody like you, watch the
Okay.
fight on your laptop while you have my comments, and you put you got to put the fight on mute on the laptop or the tablet, however you watch a fight, and you
Okay.
on your phone you put my commentary, and as we're watching the fight, you're following along, and we're scoring the
Oh,
fight.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. So I did one, and you can do it. You don't have to do it live, because I'm gonna start doing it every Tuesday. So this Tuesday, I believe we're doing Sergio Martinez versus Paul Williams one. But
Oh,
we did Triple G versus Canelo two. Where so if you wanted to do that and watch the channel, trust me, it's a lot more fun than it seems. If
okay.
so,
No,
what we
I
do
dig
is
it.
let's say we disagree on round four, hypothetically speaking. We make a mark and then at the end of the fight, we'll rewatch round four and rescore it.
Okay. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. So, and then good stoppage, bad stoppage is basically it's pretty straightforward. We've only done one, and we did Julio Cesar Chavez versus Meldrick
Oh,
Taylor,
oh
where
man.
at
One
the
of the
end
greatest fights ever.
we watched the fight it's in its entirety to get a sense of how bad the punishment was.
Uh-huh.
And then at the end, we make a decision. Was it a good stoppage or a bad stoppage? And again, it's also a fight. It's also something that's really fun. It's interactive. It requires a little bit of participation on your end, but if it's something you can handle, that
Yeah.
you definitely will definitely enjoy it. And if one day you don't got you don't got much to do. So far for the official scorecard, we've done Leonard Duran one, we've done Ward Kovalev one, and Triple G versus Canelo 2. Those are the three fights we've done. But every Tuesday, and also I'll be announcing on my Twitter And like I said, told you to follow me on Twitter. I'll be
Okay.
on Twitter as far as how the schedule is going to go. But again, it's more interactive and it's a lot more fun. Although this was obviously fun. I love talking boxing, especially with knowledgeable boxing fans. But it's something I feel clarifies how people should score. You know, as we're watching the fight, me and my panelists, we're discussing what we're seeing. We're debating as to who winning the round. We're discussing, you know, as far as, oh, look at the foot placement, look where he's punching, look at the adjustment he made. And it's very, very knowledgeable boxing fans. It's high level stuff. And I definitely want to educate my subscribers as much as possible. I want as many people as possible to follow along and enjoy this. Because again, it's something that's really, really fun.
And that's the best route, is just educating people. And you know, you gotta have an open mind when you come into these platforms.
Yeah. But again, so if you don't got nothing to do, check out one of those fights, whether it be Leonard Duran 1 or Triple G versus Canelo 2. Watch the fight on your laptop on silent. Put me on your phone and listen to my commentary as you're watching the fight, and then you can score and see how you scored it, compared it to what we scored it, and you know, again, and then you could leave a comment or something like that, and we could go back and forth.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, man. But all right, Frank, I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Everybody in the chat, shout out to y'all for coming through and hitting the like button and being a subscriber. Shout out to Randy, who sent me $100 super chat. Shout out to you. And shout out to Black and Brown Boxing for sending me $10. I really appreciate that. I appreciate anybody who sends me a super chat. That is dope shit, man. You know, I'm finally making money off this YouTube thing. It took me a while to get this page monetized, but it was well worth it. But all right, guys, I will be going live again on Tuesday. Tuesday, I will be doing the official scorecard. I want to say it's Sergio Martinez versus Paul Williams 1, which was fight of the year. Whoops, my bad. It was fight of the year. So definitely go check that out. And I'll see you guys then. Until next time, guys. Peace.